In my last video, I shared the story of how I found and rescued the classic Commodore PET and gave it a new life using modern parts, turning it into a seriously cool looking retro machine. If you haven't seen that build yet, I've linked it down in the description. Definitely check it out first. But what I didn't tell you is that the PET wasn't alone. It came with a matching floppy drive, and let me tell you, this thing was in rough shape. Dusty, rusty, and completely forgotten. In fact, it's been hiding in my cellar for over a year, just waiting for its moment to shine. Well, that moment is now. I decided to take on the challenge and transform this old beat-up floppy drive into something completely unexpected. The largest USB hub in the universe. Curious how I turned this rusty retro beast into a modern masterpiece? Stick around, this is going to be fun. Now let's talk about the floppy drive. Just like the PET, this thing was in really bad shape. The good news? No cracks or broken parts. The bad news? It's made of real metal, which means, yeah, a whole lot of rust. At first glance, it's clear that the top cover probably needs a fresh coat of paint. Whether I can do it myself, well, I'm still not sure. Surprisingly, the inside wasn't too bad. Wow, just look at the amount of rust on the drive and the power unit. This thing has definitely seen better days. But honestly, I'm not planning to restore the original drive mechanism. I don't really care how that looks. What I do want is to keep the original motherboard on the top case. It even has its own 6502 processor, just like the PET itself. And you know what? It actually looks amazing, considering it spent years exposed to the elements. Before I can start planning the build, I need to strip out all the internal parts. Easier said than done. These drives are seriously heavy. I'm not sure if the video really shows it, but every single part is solid metal and it feels like it. Here you can see one of the screws holding the power unit was so stuck that I had to break it off. It does leave some cosmetic issues, but nothing I can fix later. After about an hour of wrestling with it, the case is finally empty. The plastic front covers? Perfect condition. Here are some shots after I separated the parts. At this point, I've got everything I need to turn this rusty old beast into a seriously cool accessory for my Commodore PET. And trust me, it's going to look amazing. By the way, I have actually 2 floppy drives for sale. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. So, what am I actually going to do here? Not only will it become a modern USB hub, but it also double as a physical storage box. I clean it up as much as possible, repaint if needed, and keep the original motherboard for that authentic retro vibe. The floppy internals, they go. This build looks easier than the PET restoration, but let's be honest, these projects always have surprises. So let's get into it. Honestly, I had no idea what to do with the rusty top part, but I decided to start cleaning anyway. First step, attack the big rust patches with a wire brush. For the rest, I went with my usual trick, good old baking soda. After some scrubbing, the case is finally clean. The button part? Not a big problem, I can hide the small imperfections with a black marker. The top part, though, Well, it's clean, but it doesn't look great. Should I repaint it? Or leave it as it is for an authentic retro vibe? I'm still not sure at this point. The screws were a different story. They went straight into a vinegar bar, and you can see the acid working almost immediately. After a day they look fantastic, like new. And the motherboard? It got the VIP treatment, 2 rides in the dishwasher. So now I've got a clean case, rescued screws and a shiny motherboard, ready for the next step in this retro transformation. The button part was easy. I just grabbed the black marker to hide the small imperfections. The front panel looks good as it is, and most of it won't be even visible. So far, so good. But the top cover, yeah, that's another story. It's clean now, but it still looks terrible. At this point I decided to repaint it. My first idea was to do it myself, using the same method I used for the PET's monitor frame in the last video. So I started small, just 2 badly damaged spots to see if I could blend them in. I've even tried 2 different colors. I hoped this would work, but honestly, the result wasn't great. The color wasn't the main issue, it was the texture. On the smooth areas it looked okay, but on the damaged spots, well, pretty bad. You can see the problem clearly here. So, time for plan B, get professional help. I called the local auto repair shop. They agreed to take on this little retro project. So, off to the garage we go. There's only one question left. What color is the Commodore PET supposed to be? There is no single documented standard, and if you look at the original photos, the colors vary quite a bit. After some research, I narrowed it down to a few color codes. This time I'm going with 1013 Oyster White, the shade most online discussions also recommend. Here we are at the garage. The car over there is done, so hopefully they don't mix up the paints, because that color would definitely not look good on my new floppy drive. And 2 days later, wow! I should be surprised, but I'm just blown away. The paint job turned out better than I ever imagined. It's not just clean, it shines. It highlights something I haven't fully appreciated before. This case is made of real solid metal. Now that it's been professionally painted, that fact stands out even more. And here's the best part. When you place it next to the restored PET, the contrast is stunning. The PET looks great, no doubt, but the floppy drive, it looks perfect. It's like they were always meant to be together, just separated by time and a bit of rust. Now it's time to focus on the electronics, although calling it electronics might be a bit of an overstatement. I needed a few parts to get started, so after a couple of weeks of deliveries I had everything. New LEDs, heat shrink tubing, USB adapters and more. First I built the LED setup, 2 green LEDs and 1 red. I wired them together and connected them to a USB plug. Here's the prototype. And here's the final version, neatly finished with heat shrink. Whenever the USB is plugged in, the lights come on, just like this. After a lot of searching, I found this funky USB adapter that fits perfectly into the front panel. All I needed was an additional USB hub to make it work. And here is the final setup. When I plug in the USB, it powers the LEDs on the one side and works as a dual USB adapter on the other. Simple but perfect for this project. Before I can start the final assembly, there's one last piece of the puzzle that needs solving. Now that the original floppy drive mechanism is done, there's nothing holding the front panel in place. And I definitely don't want to glue it. This build should stay serviceable. I want to be able to open it up in the future without breaking anything. So, time to get creative. After digging through my parts bin, I found this small metal connector plate. It's nothing fancy, but with a bit of careful bending, I managed to shape it just right. Here's how it works. The bracket acts like a hidden latch. It holds the front panel snugly in place, but it's not permanent. If I ever need to open it up again, I just slide it out. No glue, just clever engineering. It's a small detail, but honestly, these are the things I love most about retro builds, finding creative solutions that blend old school hardware with modern flexibility. Now it's time to put everything together. First, I place the original motherboard with its iconic 6502 processor back into the upper case. It's a quiet tribute to the original design and it looks so cool up there. It doesn't serve functional purpose in its build, but visually it ties everything back to the drive's roots and gives the whole setup a real retro soul. Now the electronics I showed earlier go into place. You'll notice I cut out 2 pieces of black paper to cover the unused slots. Just a small touch to make the front look cleaner and more intentional. Here's the first test fitting the USB adapter into the front panel. I'm using black zip ties to secure it, not permanent but strong enough to hold everything in place while keeping it serviceable. If I ever need to upgrade or repair it, I can easily remove it. Then I attach the custom metal brackets to the frame, the ones I shaped earlier, and here it is, the front panel in its final form. The USB adapter is fixed, the LED is mounted, and everything lines up beautifully. I had to play around a bit with the wiring to make sure nothing got pinched during the assembly, but overall the structure is massive and solid. The front panels are perfectly aligned and feel like they were always meant to be there. Before sealing it up, I ran a final test using my laptop, and how cool is this? It actually works as a fully functional modern USB hub. Finally, I attached the top panel secured with 5 screws. Perfect match. And now for the first time I'm using the new hub with my Commodore PET, testing my spaceship simulator, which I'm still working on. It looks awesome. The next morning I can film in sunlight. I captured it from different angles, alone and side by side with the PET. And wow, it looks amazing. With the fresh paint and the USB port, it feels like something designed today inspired by the 70s. Definitely not just an old rusty piece of nostalgia. And for the final touch, I added this special USB add-on with the potentiometer. It lets me smoothly control the power, so I can set exactly how bright the LEDs shine. At full 5 volts they were way too intense, but now I can dial in just the right glow. I mentioned earlier that this USB hub will also double as a physical storage. And what's going inside? Check this out! I managed to dig up some original Commodore branded floppy disk. Not just one kind, 2 different kinds. Plus, I've got these classic 3M diskettes that basically define my first years with the Commodore 64. Now, I won't actually be using these disks, but they look amazing inside, together with the PET's user manual, and honestly, anything else I feel like storing inside. I hope you got some inspiration from this build. This project was pure fun. More similar projects are on the way, so hit subscribe and stay tuned. See you next time, and thanks for watching.